Good Wednesday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to the I Love CVille Show. Thank you kindly for joining us. We are live in Charlottesville, in Central Virginia, across the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille Network. This network powered by Ting, crazy fast internet. We huge supporters of Ting and what they have offered us at the I Love CVille Network. Folks, this story is going to be, and this show is going to be impactful. It's going to be one that showcases vulnerability, one that showcases one of the best love stories I have ever seen in my life with Andre Xavier and Charlie Xavier. We will spotlight what is undoubtedly a miracle in Charlie Xavier fighting for her life. She is at VCU Hospital, as many of you know, after an accident here in Central Virginia, in Gordonsville to be specific. And after some significantly scary times and scary days, Charlie, through the grace of God, is pulling through with her, man, I'm getting emotional already, with her efforts and her fight and her pursuit to be a mom, a wife, and a pillar in this community. Charlie Xavier, we've prayed for you for so long. And we're glad that you are doing well, and you are heading in the direction you need to head. Judah Wickhauer is our director. If you could, go to the studio camera, and let's welcome Dave Norris to the program first. Dave, before we talk news, you're a man of tremendous perspective, excellent with his words. The Charlie Xavier, Andre Xavier love story and this miracle. Show is yours.
Well, I mean, it certainly puts so many things in perspective. I mean, we talk about, the revolving door in City Hall, or which team is up and which team is down, which candidate's doing well. I mean, but when you have a story like this, it really does pull at your heartstrings, and I join you in wishing the family, Andre and Charlie and their kids, and just, I wish them all the best, wish her a speedy recovery. I know she has a long road ahead of her, but we're all standing with you, Charlie. We're all rooting for you. And it's just such a tragic thing to see. But I know it's a strong family. I know he's got family from, I think, Brazil that's, supporting him, and send all positive thoughts in their direction, and really hope she's back, on her feet and back living her old life again here as soon as possible. So,
amen.
Yeah.
The tight-knit nature of the wedding community, Dave Norris. Put that in perspective.
Oh, well, the Charlottesville wedding community, there's so much work to go around that it's it's not as competitive as you might think. It's actually a very collaborative community. So all the people who do officiating, all the people who provide catering, wedding planning, florists, DJing, transportation, we all work closely together, and because there is a lot of work to go around, and the venues, there's a lot of really great collaboration in the community, and people really do support each other and root for each other's success, and this is certainly no exception.
How about, and last one on this topic, how about a message for Andre Xavier, who will join us in 23 minutes?
Yeah, no, I wish Andre all the best. I know this is a life-changing experience that he's undergoing right now, and but it really does challenge every essence of your being, to be able to rally to something like this when something so tragic happens to a loved one. And so our hearts are with Andre and the kids, and of course with Charlie, and just hope the very best. So.
Dave Norris, guys, our friend and our guest. My friend, we'll start with an open-ended question for you. Yesterday, Chip Boyles resigned. I think many of us anticipated this resignation after what's been a tumultuous month with council and with City Hall. Where do you want to begin?
Well, it's certainly a perilous time right now, and I think, as I was saying earlier, it does seem to be a bit of a revolving door in City Hall with leadership, going back a number of years now. I think once whoever's designated to take Chip's slot will be the 6th city manager, either permanent or acting city manager in the last 4 years, I believe. That's a lot of turnover, And it hinders our ability as a city, as a community, to get our arms around some of the challenges that we face and to really provide the sustained leadership and direction that's needed to address some of these challenges. So I certainly hope that council, makes a good choice in terms of who's going to take the helm moving forward. There's a lot of work to do, and it's really it's not to be too philosophical, but it's time for a reckoning in Charlottesville, is the way I see it. We've talked a lot about how we just as a community we have to redouble our commitment to truth-telling when it comes to the inequities and injustices of the near and distant past and how they shape the conversation about our future. That has to continue to be our priority. We have to continue to acknowledge that the working class in our community, the small business people in our community are struggling. The wealthier citizens among us and a lot of the, high net worth newcomers to our city and to our community, they're doing fine. But I really worry about the working class and the small business people. They're the lifeblood of our community, and we neglect them at our own peril. So there's just long-standing challenges, but in order to be more effective at addressing those issues and those challenges, we have to ratchet down the personal vitriol in the public arena. We need less venom, less mudslinging, more listening, more understanding. We have this national trend towards tribalism and ugliness, which is certainly not serving our country well, and I think we have to do our best here in Charlottesville to find common ground. We need to get out of our bubbles. We need to get out of our echo chambers. We need to talk to people who don't look like us, who don't share our perspective, and make an effort to really broaden our horizons. And I think unless we do these things, we're going to just keep, flailing. We're going to keep struggling, and we have to. It's really time to insist on professionalism and accountability and results from the officials who work for us in local government. It's not enough to pay lip service to equity or affordable housing or mental health reform or policing reform or closing the achievement gap. We have to demand and expect concrete results. And so, and getting there is going to require more stability in City Hall. There's just no way around it. So, and then the last thing I'll say on this is, and this is one of the reasons why I keep coming back to this show, is more of us have to pay attention to what's going on in local government. I've been saying this for over 20 years, but it's more true now than ever. And so I commend you, Jerry, for shining a spotlight on what's going on in City Hall and the county and surrounding counties, because this is where the rubber hits the road. And we need more people to get engaged in local issues. We're a city of almost 50,000 people, and there's like 24 people that tend to dominate public discourse in Charlottesville about local issues. And I'm not saying those people should be silent, but we need to hear from more people. We need more people to step up and get engaged and to speak up if we really want to get the full pulse of the community. So there's a lot of challenges, but I'm always bullish on Charlottesville, even when it does feel perilous, when it does feel unstable. Yeah, I'll leave it there.
So we have quite a few people watching, and a lot of that has to do with the Cheering on Charlie movement and this Facebook page. I'm going to give a snapshot
as it should be.
As it should be. I'm going to give a snapshot of what's happening here for those that don't know what's going on. So Dave, it's from our heat map, 6 states and 3 countries on the live feed right now. So for those that are not familiar with what's transpiring in Central Virginia, and again, Andre Xavier will join us in 18 minutes on the program, the city manager surprisingly resigned yesterday, and he acknowledged health issues from stress on the job. He acknowledged the deteriorating relationship with Mayor Nikiah Walker in his resignation letter, and a handful of community members that have certainly I would say attacked him and his reputation. Chip Boyles and the resignation, did it surprise you?
Not really. I mean, I watched the last couple of city council meetings. I think many people, including, I don't want to put words in Chip's mouth, I think a lot of people would say he didn't handle the situation with the police chief.
I've said that.
Right?
Yeah, I've absolutely said that.
As well as he could have or should have, and I think he's acknowledged some shortcomings in that regard. And unfortunately, that's just one of those events that creates this catalytic effect. The public reaction was swift, and it was vocal, and it was not pleasant, and in some quarters at least. And I think that was in hindsight, that really could and should have been managed much better. And I think the truth is still coming out about what went down. And I think some of the early statements that were made turned out to not be factual. At one point, there was a word coming out from some city officials that they had nothing to do with these surveys that the Police Benevolent Association was doing to try to, in essence, dig up dirt against the police chief. And then it came out later on that I actually did. That was actually a major part of it. So it could have been handled much better. And when you saw the reaction and the lack, I can't say I'm completely surprised at the way it turned out. I think it's highly unfortunate that it went the way it did, because again, we need stability in order to be more effective at addressing these challenges. But hopefully, they can bring somebody in who can really right this ship.
So, NBC 29, CBS 19 on the feed. Sean Tubbs has questions for you. Jojo Robertson says, Dave Norris for city manager. Sean Tubbs is asking if you're interested in the position. I would imagine the TV stations are watching for that particular reason as well. I am a huge, I'm a fan, a friend. I've championed you in a number of different openings in Charlottesville. Any interest for you with that city manager position?
Honestly, I think it's a moot point. I don't know that I would ever be asked, but I'm always willing and happy to serve my community, but I just don't see that happening. I think there's probably other people they have in mind for that particular position. But, I'm always open to being of any help that I can. And I offered Chip that when he was hired. I said, please call on me if anything I can do to be of service. Didn't take me up on it, but the offer is always there. So I love Charlottesville. I want to see this community succeed. We've got a lot of big challenges ahead of us, and we need to get our act together in terms of getting our arms around them. So.
Are you trepid that qualified and talented candidates will bypass openings in City Hall because of this fiasco?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, I think if you're somebody that's a dynamic leader that has the thick skin necessary for this job, that has the vision necessary for this job, that has the people skills and the management skills necessary for this job, A, you can probably command a higher salary than Charlottesville pays, and B, is this really where you want to be the next sacrificial lamb. So it's going to require somebody that's willing to take a risk on us. But there's good people, there's good leaders out there. I said this before when this position opened up last time, is I hope they don't look solely at people who necessarily have city manager experience or city management experience. I think you can be an effective leader in other arenas and do well in that job. And in fact, part of me wonders if maybe we should lean towards somebody who may not be coming from a city management background, but somebody that really can be the dynamic leader and have the people skills and the leadership skills that we need, given the tough environment that we have here in Charlottesville. But obviously, I'm not on city council anymore. I'm happily retired from it, but that would be my advice.
Would you apply for the opening?
I wouldn't. I don't see that happening. I just don't see it. There's certainly other ways that I could see myself playing a role short of that, but I just think it's sort of a moot point, to be honest, Jerry. So.
Understood.
Yeah.
I'll throw this to you. Secret recordings. There's secret recordings going around here left and right.
Yeah.
There's secret recordings allegedly from the PBA with people in the police department. Mm-hmm. We know there are secret recordings, or there were secret recordings with the mayor and the city manager, and the reason we know that is because they were played at the last city council meeting.
Right.
Have you ever experienced secret recordings like this? Are we at that point?
That's clear evidence of a breakdown in trust. That's clear evidence of a breakdown in communication. If you can't trust somebody to tell the truth, to where you feel like you have to record them to sort of make sure there's accountability, that's not a good sign. And so I never, in my 8 years on city council, my 4 years as mayor, it never would have occurred to me to secretly record conversation I had with city manager or other city councilors or anybody for that matter. It's just not, so it's definitely a bad sign. And, when insinuations of PBA secretly recording city officials or city police officials and threatening to leak, I mean, I don't know how much of that is true or accurate, but it's just unseemly and unprofessional, and it's not the way we should conduct ourselves here in the city of Charlotte. So,
people look to you for advice? I mean, we're in the fourth quarter. Got 79 days left of Heather Hill's tenure and Mayor Kyle Walker's tenure. What can be accomplished in 79 days? We clearly need an interim city manager.
Right.
There are a number of openings that are vacant in City Hall. You're the experienced one. I'm just a guy with a microphone here. I would think that City Council would be hesitant to anoint a city manager now before January 1, because, to use a sports analogy, in a lot of ways that would be a lame duck city manager with 2 new councilors coming in on the 1st of January.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is that, to Chip's credit, he has hired some pretty sharp folks as deputy city managers, Ashley Matthews and Sam Sanders. I've met with both of them several times, solid people. I don't know if either of them would have any interest in stepping up on an interim basis. There's other city officials, if necessary, who could, be, asked to serve on a short-term interim basis. I don't know what council's thinking right now. I assume they're having discussions as we speak about who the interim's going to be as of October 29th. But I agree, Jerry, that this council is not the council that's going to hire the next city manager for the city of Charlottesville. And so as long as they can get somebody in place as a caretaker until the permanent city manager is hired, we'll be okay.
What, as a pointed question, I have to ask this doing my job here.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you attribute where we're at to the challenges of working alongside or with the mayor?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on who you talk to. I mean, I consider, the mayor as a friend, and I've long supported her. I think she's brought a perspective that was badly needed. But I know she's not everybody's cup of tea, and I know some people have had a hard time working with her. She expects a lot. She puts in a lot. She's one of the hardest working elected officials I've ever seen in my life. Like, she puts in a lot of effort and energy. She's a truth teller. She's trying to, unmask the illusions, as she said, and that makes people uncomfortable, and that rubs people the wrong way when you're trying to really get to the heart of some really tough inequities and injustices. But I think there's a toxic environment overall right now, and I know people want to put that all on the mayor, just as they wanted to put it all on West Bellamy before her, and they're always trying to find the scapegoat. But I think we have.
Is that racism?
Well, I don't know that it's. I mean, I think partly
in certain quarters.
In certain quarters, I'm not one to. Point to racism as the cause of everything, but I certainly think in certain quarters, when you look at Mayor Walker's Facebook feed, there are trolls that hop on there who clearly, to call them racist is probably a compliment. I mean, they're just people that have crawled out from under the rocks, and but I do think my point was going to be, like, you can't blame it all on any one person. Like, this is a collective toxicity right now, and we all own our part in it, and we've all got to figure out a way out of it. And I do think, as I said earlier, we've got to ratchet down the vitriol. I don't think it helps. I think we've got to find ways to get out of our bubbles. I was criticized the other day for even coming on I Love CVille Show because Jerry Miller is not the biggest fan of Kyle Walker. Well, I'm sorry, but if we're only going to talk to people who agree with us 100%, A, we're never going to get anywhere, and B, we're going to be very lonely. And so I think we've got to get out of our bubbles and our echo chambers. We've got to start doing a better job of seeing how other people view the world and trying to understand how other people live their lives and the struggles they encounter, because otherwise we're never going to get ahead.
What do you attribute the fall from grace for Chief Brackney? I mean, she clearly. So Chief Brackney came in with a mindset, an approach, and an ideology of reforming police in Charlottesville.
Yeah.
And her goal, for lack of a better phrase, was to go from, according to her, the good old boy,
The warrior culture.
yeah, to a new version of policing.
Yeah.
And for an extended period of her time in Charlottesville, she had tremendous success with this.
Mm-hmm.
Over the last, I don't want to say, certainly this year, she started getting some friction.
Mm-hmm.
It started with the Unitarian Church, the incident where she reached out to the minister of the church as a police chief, looking for folks in that church to get fired or to lose their position within leadership in the church. And then it finally crescendoed with the clash with PBA leadership.
Mm-hmm.
What led, from your vantage point, to her fall from grace?
Well, I think you just nailed it, Jerry. You hit the nail on the head, which is, she's trying to change a culture, and that's really hard to do. And you're going to get pushback, and you're going to get resistance from people who like the status quo. I think that underlies a lot of the opposition to some of the changes Mayor Walker has tried to make. Is people who are enamored with the status quo aren't going to like change, and particularly the kind of change that Chief Brackney was trying to lead, particularly when the agent of the change is a black woman, and that rubs some people the wrong way. And so I think, again, I said this last time I was on your show, the number one challenge right now in regaining the trust of a significant portion of the community is making it abundantly clear, not just through lip service, but through actual concrete actions and results, that we are absolutely committed to reforming policing in Charlottesville. Because so many of our neighbors have been subjected to this warrior culture over the last decades or generations, and so many people have been subjected to racial profiling, and so many people have been subjected to a war on drugs that has done very little to actually solve drug problems, but has done a whole lot to criminalize people in our community and ruin families and destroy lives. And so we've got to redouble our commitment to reforming police. And I just hope that this firing of Brackney doesn't send the opposite signal, which is that, yeah, we like to talk about it, but we're not actually committed to it.
We have 13 states and 4 countries currently watching the show. And we'll cut to the chase. Certainly the influence of folks excited to hear Andre Xavier in 4 minutes on this program to talk about his love story with his wife, Charlie. We will get to Andre in 4 minutes. So, Dave, where we go from here? We have, from my standpoint, it seems like kind of 2 periods we got to get through. We have the 79 days in front of us with Councilor Hill and Mayor Walker on the dais. Mm-hmm. Their terms end at 12:01 a.m. January 1st. And then we have this next period, which expectation leads us to believe that Brian Pinkston and Juan Diego Wade, let's cut to the chase, will be elected. Mm-hmm. And these 2 guys will be added to the dais with Councilor Snook, McGill, and Payne. Mm-hmm. First, the 79-day period. Your thoughts of what you think are going to transpire?
Well, I don't know that a whole lot will get done in 79 days. I think because there's an election coming up in a few weeks, I think there's going to be a lot of focus on onboarding the newly elected councilors, again, finding this interim caretaker, city manager. I'm sure that both Nikiah Walker and Heather Hill have things they want to accomplish. Neither of them is just going to sort of coast along to the end. They're both hardworking. They're both committed public servants, and so I'm sure they have priorities they're going to continue to push. I know right now a huge focus is this comprehensive plan and the future land use map, and that's going to occupy a whole lot of their time over the next 79 days. So, things will continue to proceed, but increasingly the focus is going to be on what happens as of January 1 with the new council, and then how do we move forward from there?
I was texting with Matthew Gillikin about this a couple days ago. Are we concerned at all that the attrition, the turnover, and the resignation of Mr. Chip Boyles will impact execution and momentum with increased density in Charlottesville and the future land use map?
Sure. It certainly doesn't help. Again, that's what I was getting at earlier, is that this instability doesn't help us move our priorities forward as a community. But there are good people. Sam Sanders is overseeing that as Deputy City Manager, and there's a new Neighborhood Development Services Director. So there are good people in City Hall that are shepherding that process. We've got a great planning commission. They have just put in a ton of work over this last year and more to get this process to where it is now. I give them all kinds of kudos, all the staff and the Neighborhood Development Services that have been working on that, and all the citizens that have been engaged in those conversations. It's been a huge lift for our community. So I think it's going to, that sort of has a life of its own. That's not going to stop regardless of, turnover on the city manager, but it certainly doesn't help.
Two questions for you, and we'll get to that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I want to get to.
Yep.
So the questions are Piedmont Housing Alliance and the incredibly positive developments that are going on with your day job, and a number of folks are asking about Friendship Court and its groundbreaking. Yeah,
so my day job now is with Piedmont Housing Alliance. Friendship Court, I believe, is very close to kicking off phase one of their redevelopment. Very exciting project. The Housing Authority, Charlottesville Redevelopment Housing Authority, has already kicked off phase one and phase two of their redevelopment effort. So there's a lot of really positive change happening. And my role at Piedmont Housing Alliance is on sort of a parallel effort. I've always said that redevelopment is not just about revitalizing neighborhoods. It's not just about bricks and mortar. It's not just investing in housing. It's investing in people. And so, as we're improving housing, as we're improving neighborhoods, how do we help people improve their lives? The people who live in those neighborhoods improve their opportunities and help them climb the financial ladder. And so, Piedmont Housing Alliance has taken the lead on pulling together a wide range of community partners to establish what we're calling the Financial Opportunity Center. And this morning, right before I came over here, we had our grand opening for the Financial Opportunity Center, 806 East High Street. It's a work in progress, but we've got a number of financial opportunity and housing opportunity support services all under one roof. A number of key partners, Network to Work at PVCC, United Way, PHA, the Housing Authority, MAC, all kinds of partners are all collaborating together to make it as easy as possible for lower income residents of our community to get the supports they need in a very positive and very affirming way to be able to climb the financial ladder. So getting a better job, managing your money, repairing your credit, getting better housing, maybe getting on a path to home ownership, whatever it is that you need in order to climb the ladder, come over to 806 East High Street. We'll take care of you.
Dave Norris, thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Seriously.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, I enjoyed chatting with you and seeing you.
Likewise.
All the best to you. We'll reach out to Andre. We'll pass along your good words. He's watching now.
All right.
You have a good afternoon.
Yeah, and again, I wish the Xavier family all the best.
Thank you. Dave Norris, guys, one of the great guys here in Charlottesville.